房价再这么跌下去，上海真的很多家庭都要崩溃了。
If housing prices keep falling like this, many families in Shanghai will really collapse. At least a quarter of families here are already bankrupt. The entire city of Suzhou is selling houses. Everything has changed.
深圳的840万的房子才卖了7万块钱。
This house in Shenzhen was bought for 8.4 million yuan in 2021. I sold it today for 6.46 million. The mortgage left is 63 million, so I only got back 160,000. I still need to pay a few thousand yuan in commission to the agent, leaving me with just 70,000 yuan. This is in the core area of Bao'an Center in Shenzhen, one of the best locations. When I bought it, the price was 120,000 yuan per square meter. At its peak, it reached 200,000 yuan. Now it's down to 90,000. I've lost over 4 million yuan. I want to warn everyone not to buy property anymore. A finance industry blogger said that while the tariff war hasn't ended, domestic housing prices have collapsed. The media, however, is misleading the public.
第一阶段的贸易战咱们赢了吗？现在是凌晨1点半。
Did we win phase 1 of the trade war? It's 1:30 a.m. and I just finished reading reports from investment banks like Morgan Stanley. After reading them, I have some concerns. The media here is spreading very positive news, but I'm worried this will mislead the public. The US has successfully blown up our most valuable asset, real estate, through the trade war. Whether you admit it or not, that's the reality. Major private developers, including top companies like Vanke, couldn't hold on. Our stock market is stuck around 3,000 points. In recent years, stocks in leading sectors like innovative drugs, semiconductors, and new energy have all dropped sharply. He said that everyone who bought a house from 2017 to 2022 with a 30% down payment has seen that down payment evaporate. The house has become a negative asset, and they still have to pay the mortgage. These people have sunk most of their life savings into these properties, which is no exaggeration. There are also related real estate trusts, local debt trusts, etc., which have also taken a lot of money from high net worth individuals. Companies like Zhongrong Trust and Bank of China Trust are prime examples. Right now, the second phase of the trade war is ongoing, targeting our foreign trade. The US is willing to do anything to eliminate 50% of our trade surplus, and this has a huge impact on the Chinese public. So what Trump says is not important. He can be tough one moment, then soft the next. But that's not what matters. What matters is his objective, what he actually does.
他妈的，上海的房子是真难卖呀！
Selling property in Shanghai is really tough. As a veteran real estate agent with 50 years of experience, I'm barely hanging on. Today, I took a client to see some properties, but many sales offices were empty. I checked the data for second-hand housing in Shanghai, and the listings are shocking. Fortunately, I'm mentally strong, or I'd be out of breath. If you don't believe me, right now, there are 160,000 properties listed for sale in Shanghai. 8 out of 10 people on the street are trying to sell their properties. When people meet now, they don't ask where you bought your property, they just ask, did you sell your house yet?
一线城市最近在砸盘是吧？大家都已经感受到了寒意是吧？
Has the property market in first-tier cities been crashing lately? You've all felt the chill, right? This chill has now spread to everyone. Many of my friends in Shanghai who used to be proud of their properties are now shocked. Prices have dropped by 1 million to 2 million yuan. Before, it wasn't taken seriously. They used to say, I bought this for 7,000 yuan per square meter, 10,000 yuan per square meter. But now I ask, does it hurt to lose money? You might not care when it drops 10%, but when it drops 20 or 30%, don't you start to feel the pain?
上海的房子能出手就赶紧出手吧。
If you can sell your house in Shanghai, do it quickly. Don't hold on for an extra 80,000 or 100,000 yuan. Now, some people still think that prices will rebound, but this is your best chance to sell. In 2 years, you might not even be able to find anyone to buy, and that's when your property becomes really unsellable. The days when buying a house guaranteed you profit are over. If you look at the second-hand listings, they keep increasing, but fewer and fewer people are coming to view properties. If you don't believe it, try listing a property yourself. Even if you lower the price, it might not attract buyers. I've seen too many properties where the owner stuck to their price, only to have the property sit unsold for months without a single viewing.
How competitive is the housing market now? Look at this. The landlords are working harder than us. There were over 100 people, split into two groups. Take a look at how many people are here trying to sell. The landlords are working harder than we are.
整个天津都在卖房。
The entire city in Tianjin is selling homes. Out of 100 homeowners, 90 are listing their properties.
所有郑州的房东都
Every homeowner in Zhengzhou is desperately trying to sell their property. The same goes for every homeowner in Qingdao. People all over the country are selling houses.
There are so many properties available right now, and people are selling them everywhere, but buyers are very few. In places like Xi'an, it's not just second-hand houses being sold, but there are more than 400 new housing projects. Where are all these buyers going to come from? Some properties have dropped by hundreds of thousands of yuan and are still not selling. If this happened 5 years ago, who would have thought it would come to this?
A commenter said, I didn't expect this at all. It seems like overnight everyone in China is frantically trying to sell their houses. This all started right after the trade war, when China and the US clashed head-on, triggering a panic sell-off. If this continues, real estate will completely collapse. But the worst off are the ones who bought recently and haven't had time to react. They bought at the peak of the market and have no way out.
我觉得我是真的撑不住了。我在2023年的年底呢。
I really don't think I can take it anymore. At the end of 2023, I impulsively bought a house in Zhengzhou. I thought it would be closer to my mom and more convenient. But now I really regret it. I'm kicking myself. But it's too late now. I've already bought the house and there's nothing I can do. Now I have to pay 3,000 yuan a month. But since I put down a low down payment, the pressure is overwhelming. I've missed more than 5 payments and I'm constantly anxious. I can't eat or sleep properly.
A commenter mentioned that with the real estate collapse caused by the tariff war, the situation for physical retail stores is even worse.
这里500-600万没了，这个大一点的
Here properties worth 5 to 6 million yuan are gone. The larger commercial spaces worth 7 to 8 million are also gone. On this street, investments worth millions of yuan have all been lost. This is where, a few years ago, rich people from Shenzhen were desperately fighting to get these prime commercial properties. Now, it's become a huge joke, a massive failure, and a painful lesson. If you look around, you'll see a dead zone. It's the weekend, and there isn't a single person in sight. The whole mall, hundreds of millions of yuan have been poured into this. This was supposed to be the largest commercial area in South China, covering all types of physical stores. What you're seeing now is the naked reality of the business situation in Shenzhen. A barbecue restaurant owner who had invested a lot of money was almost collapsed when faced with an empty store.
老铁呀，这生意呀，太难了。
This business is really tough. Since 6 p.m., I've only had one order, and it's only 300 yuan. I had such high hopes, preparing 3 2-meter-long grills, but now everything is frustrating. I don't even dare to turn on the lights for the display case, afraid of wasting electricity. Running a business is giving me health problems. A commenter said that strange things are happening more and more. It's not just real estate or commercial spaces collapsing. Even basic necessities can't sell anymore.
有没有智商高的朋友帮我分析一下？太吓人了。
Can someone with a high IQ analyze this? It's so terrifying. A client who runs a rice and noodle business told me that his sales this year are absurdly low. The latest statistics show that rice and noodle sales are declining. I just don't get it. If consumption is down, okay, maybe people aren't eating vegetables or meat. I understand that, but surely everyone still has to eat rice, right? What's going on?
A commenter mentioned that finding a job is harder than ever. People who haven't experienced it firsthand can't imagine just how bad it's gotten.
今年有多难？
How hard is it this year? Let me give you an example. My friend's wife left him for 2 years, then came back saying it's even harder out there.
2025年的新死法。
The latest disaster in 2025 is finding a job in Guangzhou. If you don't believe it, you can buy a ticket and take a 25-hour train ride and experience it for yourself. When you try to find a job here, you'll realize that although there are many opportunities, you keep hitting walls everywhere. The salaries are ridiculously low. I've been unemployed for 7 or 8 days now, and every day is incredibly stressful. It feels like life has no hope. I want to try, but I don't even know where to start. All I can do is watch my savings dwindle and my mood get worse.
好了，宁波现在老百姓的现状，我给大家解读一下。你看
Let me tell you about the situation in Ningbo right now. Business owners, big or small, are all laying off employees. Many bosses are struggling in deep debt, on the verge of bankruptcy. They've mortgaged everything, houses, cars, anything they could, and are relying on credit cards to get by. Just a few days ago, a friend told me that a few years ago, their family was living comfortably off rental income from a few shops. Now those shops are all empty. What used to cover the mortgage with extra leftover now can't even be rented out. Now, look at the younger generation. The kids born in the 80s and 90s, most of them are living paycheck to paycheck, making just a few thousand yuan a month, and it's not enough to patch up the holes. It's not that people in Ningbo don't want to spend, it's that they really don't have money to spend. Online, it says that in 2020, the average savings per person in Ningbo was 180,000 yuan, but in reality, most people are just part of the average. In this environment, if you don't have debt, you're considered a successful person. That's the real situation for us Ningbo residents. A commenter said it's true. Right now in China, if you don't have a mortgage or car loan and still have income, you really are considered a successful person. Some people who made money as real estate agents before, due to the market crash, tried to switch industries or invest, but ended up losing even more.
我最近听说一件事情真的特别感
Recently, I heard something that really made me reflect. When I bought a house in Wuhan, the real estate agent who sold it to me wasn't much older than I was. At that time, he was already the area manager for that district. His annual salary was around 400 to 500,000 yuan, and he had bought 3 houses in Wuhan with no outside help. Recently, I saw him on TikTok, and I couldn't believe it. He had moved back to his rural hometown. I was so shocked. He had a house, a car, and a good salary in Wuhan. How could he suddenly go back to his hometown? I looked at his other TikTok videos and found that he had mortgaged all his properties to invest, borrowing 3 million yuan. In the end, he lost it all. Then he made some other investment projects and lost another 2 million. Altogether, he lost over 5 million yuan. My God, if I hadn't seen him on TikTok and heard him talk about it, I wouldn't have believed it was true.
A commenter from the finance industry in China said that the current economic situation in China is very dangerous, and the government doesn't seem to have any good solutions. He advised everyone to stay calm when it comes to investing or running businesses, and not to easily believe the government or social media's propaganda.
关于美国对中国征收关税这个事情，如果你
Regarding the US tariffs on China, if you're in business, you can't just rely on the analysis from social media. I recommend everyone seriously read a report written by Trump's economic advisor, Stephen Miller, who is also the chief strategy officer at Hudson Bay Capital. In December 2024, he wrote a report to the US government about restructuring the global trade order, and it explains the current tariff issues very clearly. If you read it, you'll see that the strategy of increasing tariffs is exactly what he laid out in his report. There are some misunderstandings in this, and I think it's important for everyone to understand in advance. He said that the US understands China's economy in great detail. First, there is the need to recognize that China's economy is primarily export-driven. If we think of China as a company, its real income comes from what it earns through exports. So it's important to know that China's economy is an export-driven economy. The second point is that China is a country with foreign exchange controls or capital controls. What does this mean? It means that once money enters China, it's very hard to move it out. This is one of the reasons China has been able to develop over the past few decades. It essentially locks in capital to develop its own economy. These two factors are crucial. And now, with the increase in tariffs, the US is targeting these two factors. Trump isn't increasing tariffs simply to bring manufacturing back to the US or boost the US economy and employment rates. That's just one aspect of it. The more important consideration is that his focus is primarily on U.S. national security. He believes that the current supply chain relies too much on China, and not just him, but his allies are also overly dependent on China. So the US is now aiming for deglobalization. What does that mean? In simple terms, it means diversifying the supply chain. In the future, the US doesn't want the entire world relying on just one supply chain from China. The US wants to rebuild a supply chain that is spread across the world, which they believe would be safer. Trump's real objective is to reshape the global trade order. For the US, what is most important? It's bulk commodities, not everyday consumer goods or small products. For industries dealing with bulk commodities, such as furniture, metals, healthcare, and semiconductors, the impact of this is huge, and they don't even know where to go from here. Another very important point is that China is a country with foreign exchange controls. We must keep capital here for development. If the US increases tariffs while also raising the value of US dollar assets, then Chinese yuan assets will depreciate, and dollar assets will appreciate. This means a massive amount of capital will have to find ways to leave China. No matter how you try to block it, it will still leave. When that happens, what does it mean? It means that domestic assets, particularly in real estate, will rapidly lose value because capital is leaving. This will make the already struggling consumption and employment markets worse, and cause immeasurable shocks and losses to other areas of economic development. This is something everyone in business must understand. A commenter from the entertainment industry shared their personal experience and also offered a summary of the current economic situation in China. I know you're all anxious, and we are too. Factories are closing, workers are losing their jobs, incomes are dropping, and people aren't spending. The economy is stuck in a vicious cycle. But in the past, we weren't always like this. We bought houses we couldn't afford, cars we couldn't afford, drank coffee we couldn't afford, used phones we couldn't afford, wore luxury goods we couldn't afford, and went to schools we couldn't afford. We even maxed out credit cards, and it was pretty enjoyable. Until one day, we realized that wages don't always go up, and the environment doesn't always get better. People who used to earn tens of thousands a month got laid off. Companies with several million in revenue shut down. Those with lower salaries had their incomes cut in half, but the loans were still there, and desires were still as high as ever. In the end, some people lost their homes, their cars, but at least they had peace of mind. I used to hear people say, live the good life now and worry about the future later. But no one ever tells you the rest of that saying. Once the good days are over, it's time to face the hard times.